Guns have been a staple in American culture since the Second Amendment gave citizens the right to bear arms. However, recent tragic events have shown the misuse of guns and are making people question the legalization of them. According to BusinessInsider.com, there have been over 307 mass shootings in the last year, and although fortunately not all of them had casualties, these are just the most recent statistics on gun violence. When it comes to guns, some people believe everyone's at risk. It comes down to being in the wrong place at the wrong time. On the other hand, some could argue that having a gun in a bad situation like a mass shooting could end up saving more people than doing harm. Personally, I have younger brothers and cousins who are in grade school, and it worries me that something could happen at their school at any moment. Guns' purpose are to protect people, but there are many opinions on the subject of whether or not they should be banned or stricter gun laws should be applied. The common misuse of guns, the need for stricter security in all public places, and the easy accessibility all come into question when it comes to gun control. In discussion of gun control, the most talked about issue is whether guns should be illegal or not. While some argue that guns are necessary for protection, others contend there's more risk in owning one. Mass shootings are the biggest example of the misuse of guns. The most recent shooting was on February 14, 2018 at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. A 19-year-old former student walked into the school killing 17 people. This incident opened up a controversial discussion about gun control. Places outside of the U.S. have already taken the next step in putting higher restrictions. For example, Clifton Leaf, journalist and editor-in-chief of Fortune magazine, wrote an article on February 20, 2018 about how Australia is one step closer in ending gun violence. He writes about the day a man named Martin Bryant shot and killed 35 people and injured 18 others at a popular tourist spot in Port Arthur. Within just weeks of that tragedy, elected officials in each of Australia's 6 states and 2 mainland territories banned semi-automatic and other military-style weapons across the country. After seeing how many people have died from shootings in the U.S., you would assume that change would have already happened. In a perfect world, we would be able to go about our lives without having high security in places like airports or arenas. The idea of having stricter security in all public places has been floating around for some time, but there are contrasting opinions on the matter. Debate.org ran a poll on if schools need better security. 79% said no and 21% said yes. The ones who said yes believe things such as gates and metal detectors can make a monumental difference, but the ones who said no claim it would be a waste of time and money because if someone wants to conceal a gun, they're going to regardless of the circumstances. German Lopez from Vox.com writes, White House Press Secretary Sarah Huckabee Sanders made this argument after the 2017 Las Vegas mass shooting. I think if you look to Chicago, where you have over 4,000 victims of gun-related crimes last year, they have the strictest gun laws in the country, and that certainly hasn't helped there. This statement shows that state and local actions hasn't really made a difference. The facts are, the U.S. has the highest percentage of mass shootings. Tanya Francisco from GNT.com wrote, researchers WGN spoke to said owning a gun provides some people with a sense of identity. They also said no other country has so many guns available as the U.S., and that, they said, is the heart of the problem. The sole issue they're touching on is that because guns are so easily accessible, it makes it easier for these mass shootings. On the contrary, law-abiding gun users feel as though their rights would be restricted if the accessibility of guns became stricter. Chandra Johnson from Desert News wrote an article that says people fundamentally want the right to be able to protect themselves and their families. It's ingrained in Americans. National Rifle Association spokeswoman Catherine Mortensen said, not one of the proposals gun control advocates suggest are going to prevent these incidents or keep us safer. In the real world, criminals are going to get access to guns. Which touches on my subject from the previous paragraph. You can't stop people from committing a crime. People are going to do what they set out to do. While all of these are true, statistics do show that restrictions do make a great difference. The debate of gun control will forever be ongoing considering how opposed the two sides are. A real conversation needs to be had to decide whether the misuse of guns is a big enough issue to have stricter security and gun laws. This will all have to be solved without infringing the Second Amendment rights of individuals. The solution is going to come down to Republicans and Democrats setting aside their political differences to figure out the issue of guns.